Tina, you would think he was in Bavaria somewhere because, I mean, really. So, and they didn't have an expedition. They kind of like, even Perone and all them guys, they kind of, they had open arms to them, because they fed them money and stuff, I guess, I would reckon. So, and I think just a couple of years ago there was a big cache of Nazi weapons and what was it? All kind of paraphernalia, so to speak, that was turned up. So yeah, there was a big community there, and I believe there was a pipeline, not just for him, but a whole network of them to keep on going because they had too much involved. They was planning on 1,000 years. They wasn't going to just show it in over about 20 years, right?
Well, the thing that gets me is, to me, this would be the biggest story ever, and it got about 10 seconds of airtime on all the major networks.
Well, you know what? My opinion was it's because the FBI and all these agencies, they knew about all this stuff, and there's a conspiracy right there. They knew about all this stuff in the 40s and 50s, but I don't think they could say anything because I think they had some dirty dealings, and along with that, they would lose face, like big time, lose credibility, so to speak. And
well, that's on them.
Right, I agree.
We understand they did what they had to do, and we benefited greatly from, making a deal with the devil per se.
Yeah, but they called that Operation Paperclip, I believe, right?
Yes, you got that right. Yeah, yeah. And the most famous was the Otto Van Werner, I believe. He worked for NASA and came up with our entire rocket program.
Werner von Braun.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I totally messed that name up. You knew exactly what I'm talking about. Yes.
Werner von Braun. You ever see the picture with him and LBJ and John F. Kennedy down in Alabama? Yeah. Old Werner, yeah. He was, that guy was ahead of his time. Matter of fact, Werner von Braun, he did an episode with Walt Disney to promote going to Mars and stuff back in the 50s.
Yeah, they brought him into the American fold. I mean, the guy was a big-time Nazi.
He was up there. Yeah, he's one that could sit at the big table.
Yeah.
Right. He didn't have to sit at the little table. He sat at the big table. Right. Isn't that something? Well, it's amazing. It is amazing because you're right. I mean, honestly, you can trace back our stealth bomber that we have today, our fighter. I mean, the Nazis had that in the 40s. All of that, the flying wing, basically what it was. All this kind of technology, it's a miracle that if they came out with that stuff like 5 years earlier, we'd probably all be Sprechen Sie Deutsch right now.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, really.
And you know what? Even so, he should have won, regardless of the timeline on the weapons. He should have won. He should have won the war.
Well, you're right. And, my opinion on the reason why he didn't is because his doctor was feeding 3 times a day crystal meth through IV. Yeah. And listen, that right there will make you not judgment right.
Yep.
Like, Dunkirk, they could have beat the English there and all that stuff. But I think his judgment, that was probably what saved us, was his judgment was not... It was way off killer. Because, I think that was probably a blessing in many ways because it caused a rift with him and his generals and a lot of other people. And then, if you can divide somebody within themselves, believe me, because all it would have took was a couple of them big bombs and we'd have all been in trouble.
Yeah. We got lucky that he was crazy and a drug addict. Yeah, absolutely. We got real lucky with that. Otherwise, we would have been speaking German. Not to get too off topic, but did you ever see that show on Amazon?
Which one's that?
The Man in the High Castle.
Oh, I've never seen that. I've been wanting to see that, but that's where everybody's Sprechen Sie Deutsch. Yeah. Yeah. That's
exactly. It's Germany and Japan win, and it's the alternative universe and what the world would have been like, and it's awesome.
But that's the thing, because supposedly there are parallel universes, just like, instead of me sitting here interviewing you, maybe I'm interviewing Hitler's grandkids that's sitting on a throne somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there's crazy stuff out there like that. People don't really realize what's going on. And another thing, that Die Glocke that they had going on, if it was, well, pretty much any, technically, if you think about any alien craft or whatever that comes here, this basically is a time machine, if you think about it. And if that Die Glocke, if they'd have developed that, who knows? Listen, they could have went back in time and tweaked some things, that happened, mistakes they made in the war. Lord knows what could be happened. Jeez, that's a scary thought. These thoughts. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah, if you could figure out how to travel forward and backward in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jeez. And how about that? And speaking of all that too, the Philadelphia experiment. That was our attempt, I would imagine, to try to do some nefarious things. Right. Jeez.
Yeah, that's kind of tipping their hand that they know more than they let on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still say that there's some shady or what they call shadowy governments in our own government, and who knows? Maybe we can't go in time. And how would you? For one thing, how would you come out and tell the public? They wouldn't They wouldn't tell us anyway. They don't even admit that there's UFOs yet.
I know. It's like, come on. We already know that they exist. I watch my favorite news show is Tucker Carlson, and he's having Nick Pope on all the time now, talking about UFOs. So it's starting to get a hold of the mainstream media. I just hope that trend continues.
Well, yeah. People's been talking about that disclosure stuff for years. I mean, even since I was a little kid, I can remember that stuff. But it seems like within the last year, that's been the topic everywhere. And I just can't see it happening for the one thing. First of all, the government's going to be in trouble about if they admit it, they're going to lose face, number one. Number two, somebody's going to have to go to jail for all this millions, if not trillions of dollars that's been marked as something and went to something else for, black projects or research of this or whatever that is conduit to alien technology or whatever. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Sadly, everybody's just doing their job, but yeah, absolutely. They know a whole lot more than what's going on, and we've got this space program right now with Russia, China, and us, these space stations and everything. There's something that everyone knows that we don't. Everyone in that inner circle. There's something out there for sure, and we're making plans to either join them or fight them or something. Something's going on.
Well, I know that for years, one of the so-called rumors that people think that there's alien bases on the moon, and that's why we haven't went back on almost 50 years. What's your thoughts on that?
I've heard that one. I've heard that we never were even on the moon to begin with, at least that for that first time around that they claimed. I don't know. They've been round and round about the moon, and I can't. It's too hard to say. There's so many extremes. It's like we were never there to there's aliens living there, and everything in between.
Well, and you know what? That's a good point. But let me ask you this: in your opinion, if we went to, remember there was a so-called a race to space. So if we went to the moon and all, why would the Russians quit? Why did they? In your opinion, why would they just quit? They're not quitters. They have too much pride to quit. They would try to outdo us. Why would they just quit?
They say they went broke. They were selling off weapons, and the generals were taking nuclear head weapons and selling them for like $25,000. They were supposedly so broke. I I mean, now they're definitely back in business. They're definitely a force to contend with. They got oil, and Putin's definitely got an iron fist on the situation.
He may be the next Hitler with a time machine, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
Or that Kim Jong Un. It's all over the news how he knocked off his cabinet members, or whatever you want to call them, however it's set up in North Korea after that meeting didn't go that well.
Well, I do know that.
Them.
Well, I have heard several times where you might not want to disagree. I think he's had a couple of his own family members whacked because they disagree with him or something. That's So then, what do you want? A bunch of yes men? I mean, that's just crazy.
He does exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what he wants.
Oh my goodness! So anyway, all this. What about Mars? Do you think that that's in the plans? I mean, we haven't even been to the moon in 50 years almost. So now we're going to make a leap to Mars. You think that's even viable?
What didn't they say that robot? What do they call it? The Challenger, or that space thing that we've got up there.
Station? The space station?
No, the rover. The rover that roves around the.
Yeah, it was supposed to last. It was supposed to last 3 months and die out, and that was 12 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, didn't it pick up some molecules that resemble water? Or I mean, I'm not a scientist, but
well,
here's something like.
Well, here's the thing. I believe when it first there, it had some hits as positive that there was traces or the elements that was left over from past life, whether it was, a small microscopic biological, maybe not, wasn't intelligent, but yet I believe NASA, once again, they would throw something in there like false positive or something like that. They just don't want to concede to that stuff.
No.
And you want you want to talk about conspiracies? I think NASA's behind a bunch of them. My own personal opinion.
And then I wonder, I'm originally from Chicago, so I'm just naturally a skeptic when it comes to the political organizations, and immediately my first thoughts are, well, is the money even being put there, or is it lining somebody's pocket? They're doling out millions, billions of dollars. Are they doing what they're even saying, or is this just going straight into someone's bank account? See, I'm always thinking like that. I don't know. Maybe that's jaded, but
well, that's why I brought up, and that's a good point, because that is exactly why I brought up at the point, if our government, not besides just losing face about admitting about the UFOs and the aliens, they would have 70 years of money going to being spent to research it, to develop weapons from it, and they've been 70 years of saying they haven't. So how are you going to explain that? You know what I mean? You're talking over 70 years. You're talking. I can't even compute that high. How much money that is? That's trillions, and maybe even more. But somebody's going to have to go to jail. So I don't. You know what I'm? Somebody's going to, right. So I mean,
or a lot of people.
Right, and those kind of people, they're so rich and powerful now that they're not going to go to jail. Something's going to happen. There's going to be. Who knows? Maybe start a false flag war somewhere to distract us. You know what I mean? Who knows? I mean, that's just, you're talking about some dangerous people with some dangerous ideas.
Yeah, and or they do know a whole lot. But of course they're not telling us.
Yeah. Now, in your opinion, well, let me ask you this: over the last 70 years, roughly, what would you say that we have today? And technology-wise, that has come from, say, alien technology from crash sites, or just from them working with us, or whatever? Well,
I don't think it's a coincidence that after Roswell, which is, you know, right after World War II. And then after, you know,